Today, I escaped North Korea. I saw my mother raped.
This very inspiring woman who escaped North Korea and went through hell just to survive is now being exposed as a huge liar.
It seemed that only the stars were with me. But you have listened to my story.
Her name is Yeonmi Park, and you've most likely heard about her before.
If you ever read a Bible, that's execution. If you ever watch a that's execution.
She is by far the most famous North Korean defector.
Kim Jong-un is very obsessed with me, and North Korea regime absolutely didn't like me.
So why are people suddenly exposing the incredibly inspiring Yeonmi Park?
How on earth could you question whether a woman ate rats to survive as a child?
I dare you sue every single person that has ever called you a liar, because you will lose every single one of those cases.
Yes, we're talking about a woman who once spoke about this.
You had to eat
grasshoppers, dragonflies.
But also admitted this.
It sounds like you grew up in a wealthy family in North Korea.
Yeah.
And with the money she made from talking about North Korea, now posts videos and photos like this. People are confused. Many of us are curious. Did she only make up everything she said about North Korea for views, fame, and money?
I got a word from YouTube for passing 1 million subscribers.
Yeonmi Park should never be trusted. She's such a giant liar that even other defectors call her out on being too grifty. I'm glad people are finally seeing the light. Let us investigate the truth. Nightfam, I dare you to answer. Do you think the most famous North Korean defector, Yeonmi Park, is a victim or a liar?
She has done more anti-North Korean propaganda in the most unhinged ways than like the entire Western media apparatus has over the course of many, many years.
Let's establish her story before we go through the suspected lies she's being exposed for. Yeonmi Park grew up in what seemed to be a middle-class family in North Korea. But her family also lived through a period of famine, and so despite some comforts, Yeonmi still suffered an abnormal childhood.
I saw people dying and dead on the streets. I felt nothing.
Her dad was a member of the ruling Workers' Party who smuggled metals on the black market just to be able to support his family. Until he got caught.
He was only sentenced by himself for like 10 years, but still my outcast went lower.
And so out of fear that she wouldn't have a future, a 13-year-old Yeonmi decided to escape North Korea.
Today, I escaped North Korea. I saw my mother raped. The rapist was a Chinese broker. He targeted me.
In her journey to find freedom, Yeonmi went through an incredibly traumatic experience. With details so inhumane, I cannot even say them out loud in this video. But then, 2 years later, by miracle, Yeonmi finally reached South Korea to start a new life.
We follow the stars to freedom.
But here's the intriguing piece of her teenage past that doesn't fit her image. She was cast in a hit South Korean reality show where she was literally called a North Korean Paris Hilton back then for being out of touch with the harsh North Korean life.
뭐 풀 뜯어먹던 얘기, 뭐 먹고 살기 어려운 얘기하면 예주 양이 저런 거 없는데? 뭐 이런 경우가 좀 있었어요.
네.
왜 그랬죠, 예주 양은 어렸을 때 그런 걸 못 겪었나요?
근데 그 정도는 아니었고 굶지는 않았어요.
So what do we make of this now?
And I literally had to eat the grass and the dragonflies and frozen potatoes.
Because there are many more contradictions from Yeonmi herself.
자기가 어떤 때는 엄마한테 전화를 해요. 이 방송을 녹화를 하고 엄마 내가 진짜 북한 아이가 옳긴 어른가.
말하지 못하게 해요 아예. 네? 철없이 보인다고 그러다 괜히 미움께 산다고.
Until finally, this piece of her past gets buried, and years later she becomes famous in America as the human rights celebrity Yeonmi Park. Her moving speech breaks the internet with over 80 million views. She becomes a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers, and her book sells more than 100,000 copies.
What do you miss about North Korea? It's funny. I just wrote a whole book about what actual oppression looks like.
But with bigger fame came a harsher spotlight. Many critics began exposing her for saying over a dozen of lies, like this claim about a woman being killed over a movie.
When I was 9 years old, I saw my friend's mother publicly executed. Her crime? Watching a Hollywood movie.
But other defectors from that same city said no executions happened during that time period. Yeonmi also once claimed that North Koreans have no grasp of love.
Like people literally do not know the concept of romantic love.
But a Korean studies professor said, of course they do. I mean, even we at Project Nightfall made a video 2 years ago about how North Koreans fall in love. And when Yeonmi said this about Kim Jong-il portraits,
if they find dust on the portrait, you can be taken away for this.
You get executed.
a Korean expert argued it's like saying you could be killed in America for a speeding ticket. But then, who do we trust more with the North Korean facts? Experts who study it or an actual North Korean?
It takes a lot of audacity to question this woman's story.
I know!
Worse, North Korea is just so isolated and censored, it's impossible to truly say who is actually right. Is it possible that Yeonmi was just too young to remember the traumatic memories? Well, I'll let you be the judge, because now even major details in her grand story of escape are being clouded by doubts. For example, Yeonmi once said she and her sister were left to fend for themselves at ages 9 and 11 after their parents were jailed.
So it was my job to go to the river and my sister to wash our clothes.
But in a BBC interview, Yeonmi also claimed her sister went to live at her uncle's house. And of course, you probably know about the excruciating journey she experienced with her mother, traveling across the Chinese border, going through Mongolia and onto South Korea.
So initially my mother's price was $65 and they sold me just over $20 because I was child virgin.
From their bodies being used by human traffickers to how they miraculously crossed multiple mountains on foot.
We walked across the Gobi Desert, following a compass. When they stopped working, we follow the stars to freedom.
Well, in a 2014 appearance, Yeonmi then said that because of their connections, they actually went to China directly by being driven in a car, not by foot. That seems to be a huge difference. And there are many more exaggerated statements, but just to mention a final one, Yeonmi said she buried her dead dad alone.
He was buried. In the middle of the night, I buried him in the mountain's ashes.
But according to her mother, they paid 2 more people to carry his body. Hearing all of this, do you think Yeonmi embellished all of these stories to earn more from them? To make them more viral, more exaggerated, more popular? Not considering the things that might be a result of trauma. Because in her defense, she did say that the inconsistencies might be because her basic English was translated poorly.
My English was very bad.
And when it comes to her different image in that South Korean TV show,
But they needed a character for each character in the show business, that you cannot be complicated, you gotta be one simple thing. Everybody gotta have characters. And then they name you.
After all of this, Night Fam, whether you believe Yeonmi Park is a victim or a liar, I will leave it up to you. But the reason I so strongly wanted to talk about this is because we are so close to getting so distracted debating the tiniest details in her story that we're forgetting about many more people in North Korea right now whose struggles are definitely real.
North Korea is indescribable. No humans deserve to be oppressed just because of their birthplace.
Please share this video to remind people that the reality of North Korea is terrible enough. And only by guarding that unchangeable truth can we help set them free.